Hello, everyone, and thank you for taking the time to review the real estate market analysis for Morgan Hill, California for July of 2008. My name is Robert Whitelaw, and I'm a licensed real estate broker in the state of California. I'm also a member of the National Association of Realtors and a certified ePro, and I'm also the president and broker of Whitelaw and Sons Real Estate Services. Now, let's go ahead and jump in and take a look at the supply and demand numbers as we always do. And first, we're going to look at the inventory numbers. And this month isn't as encouraging as we've seen in previous months. In past months, I've pointed out that the rate at which the inventory was increasing had slowed. Unfortunately, this month it has sort of resurged again with a big increase in inventory when compared to the same time last year. Inventory is up 14.4% when compared to July of 2007. That gives us 41 more homes on the market now than were on the market at the same time last year, for a grand total of 326 homes currently on the market in Morgan Hill. Now let's go ahead and look next at the number of listings that were added to the market in July of 2008. That's also up from last year, about 11.5%. Now that's an increase of 9 homes from the same time last year, for a grand total of 87 homes added to the market in July of 2008. Finally, let's take a look at those sales numbers. We also saw, when compared to previous years in the last few months, that we've actually been getting a little bit more sales when compared to the same period last year. That trend broke this particular month, with sales dropping 6.7%. In real terms, that's only a decrease in the number of homes sold of 2. So only 2 fewer homes sold in July of 2008 than sold in July of 2007. So not a big trend, really relatively flat. Sales are not, I wouldn't call that something that you need to worry about, but it's definitely not the kind of good news I was hoping we might see for July. I think I was hoping for a little bit more of a series of good news here in July. Now the short-term numbers that we'll look at in a minute are a little bit better, but this isn't really indicating the sort of robust July that I think a lot of folks were hoping for here in Morgan Hill. Now the total months of inventory, now that's also another way of thinking of that number, is to consider it the number of homes on the market for every one that sells. We went up to 11.6 in the month of July. So basically, if the inventory numbers froze where they are now and the sales numbers froze where they are now, it would take 11.6 months to sell every home on the market. So nearly a year. Another way of thinking of that is if for every home that did manage to sell, there were about 11 homes on the market trying to get sold. The bad news is that that's actually up from last month. Last month the ratio was at 9.7, so we've definitely seen the inventory and sales numbers moving away from each other again, which is a trend that we were hoping to avoid. Now, if we take a look at the numbers, but just these same numbers, the inventory, number of homes in inventory, number of homes listed, number of homes sold, just going back to about April of 2007, we can sort of get an idea for what sort of trends we're seeing now. Sales are clearly down between June and July. That's something that we saw occur last year as well. Not as dramatically. Last year it was relatively flat between June and July, but it was overall lower. What we saw last year was we really hit our quote-unquote summer peak early in May, and then we really had a very flat June and July, and that was followed up by another relatively flat August, and then a continued decline as we headed into winter. Now, what we got this year was sort of a delay, I suppose, in the arrival of the selling market. Instead of it coming in May as it did last year, we really got our sales, it appears, in the month of June. Now, what's good is that we did see a slightly more prolonged sales period. Sales did drop between June and July, and while last year they remained relatively flat. So we've seen some good performance in June, not so much in July. From what I'm seeing from having conversations with folks in the escrow industry, we're not so sure about next month either. It doesn't look like we're going to see a whole lot of improvements there, but we'll see. Now, if we want to take a look at this and try to divine where we're going from here, if we look at May and June and July of last year, we can see that in terms of inventory anyway, we had a steady increase of inventory going all the way up till June. This year, not really. We've actually seen the inventory numbers declining. Now, in the short term, that's actually pretty good news. We've had a steady decline in the inventory since April. And if that trend continues, that's a good thing. But the big thing that's going to set this off is going to be if we can get those sales numbers up. Now, last year, from June, July, and August, we saw a drop in the inventory from June and July, which was a good thing. And then from July to August, relatively flat, and then a continued drop, and then a little bit of a bump there in October, and then we hit the lowest point in December. If we can continue a decline here in inventory, that would be good news. It'd be great to come out of this next winter and into January of next year with much lower inventory numbers. At least I think that would go a long way towards helping us get a more of a recovering situation going on here in Morgan Hill. Now, in the short term, between June and July of 2008, inventory declined 0.9%. That's a total of 3 fewer homes on the market than the month previous. The number of homes that were listed was up 20.8%. That's 15 more homes listed in July than in June. Sales were down 17.6%, and that's selling 6 fewer homes in the month of July than we sold in June. Now let's go ahead and take a look at home prices. This is another area where we've seen some steady decline. I think while this is not great news for folks out there trying to get properties sold, we are now officially back to 2004 prices. Take a look at that. If you compare 2004 to 2008, people are paying now about what they paid in 2004 for a home in Morgan Hill. So that's pretty amazing. I frankly don't think that we can see these numbers go down a whole lot more. Perhaps we could see them go down to maybe 2003, 2002 levels, but I think that's got to be where the bottom is. The average home price was down from 2000 to 2008 in the month of July by 20.8%. The average home price was $737,249. Now that's a total dollar change of $193,605 from the year previous. Median price held at $682,450, and that was a decline of 20.5%. The highest priced home in Morgan Hill was on Holiday Drive, and that sold for $1,285,000, and it was originally listed at $1,299,500, and that was on the market for 11 days. The lowest price home in Morgan Hill was on Preservation Court. That was listed at $599,950, and it ultimately sold for $375,000. So a substantial drop in that price to get it finally sold, over $200,000. That home took 286 days to get sold. In a minute, we'll be talking about the average days on market. It's a solidly high number, and I've done some background checking on that, and it's definitely an accurate representation of what it's going to take to get a home sold. Now, the average price per square foot for the homes that sold was $319.02 in the month of July. From last month, that was down It was down from its high of $330.48. But it's also important to note that we had a lot of homes that were on the higher end that had sold last month, so it kind of artificially bumped that number up. Now, if we look at the home prices just going back to April of 2007, sort of get a seasonal view of what's been going on. You see that big jump in June, and it's exactly what we talked about last time. That average number was brought up not because the real average price went up in Morgan Hill, but more it was just some higher priced homes that have been on the market for a very long time sold. If you look at the sort of general trend from April to now, you can see it was a general increase in average price as we headed through the summer season. That's fairly normal and expected. Now, the average price, the percentage change in price from June to July was down 17.9%. And because we're talking about month to month, I don't think I'd look at that as a down. Frankly, I think the real number, if we were to discount some of those higher end homes that sold that have been on the market forever, that we would have actually seen either a flat or a relatively small increase in average price from June to July. Now, the median price changed by 15.5%. That was a downward change of 15.5%. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at the days to sell. We're again setting records for July. In July of 2007, it was taking 78 days to get a home sold. In July of 2008, we were seeing 112 days, and I've gone back and analyzed this to try and figure out if maybe it was lopsided one way or another. Now, let me just sort of lay it out for you. Now, between July of 2007 and 2008, we had the amount of days it took to get a home sold increased by 43.6%. That's an increase of 34 days. For the month of July in 2008, the home that sold the fastest sold in 4 days. The home that took the longest to sell was 286 days, and that's actually the property that was the highest priced property that sold in the month of July. Now, if we break this down and sort of analyze the periods of time it took for these homes to sell, there were 2 homes in Morgan Hill that sold in less than a week, in less than 7 days. There were 6 homes that sold in 8 to 30 days, 3 homes that sold in 31 to 60 days, and 4 homes that sold in 61 to 90 days. The remaining 14 homes that sold in July took 91 days or more to get sold. The vast majority of the homes took over 90 days. That 112 days, I think, is a very solid estimation of the amount of time it's really going to take to get a home sold. If you want to get that home moved earlier than that, you're going to have to be very aggressive in your pricing. You're going to have to make sure that you have an agent working with you that's going to get the word out, is going to draw as much attention to the property as possible. So price it right, and also make sure that within your price range you are the most impressive property. That means curb appeal, that means the best upgrades at the price range. That's really going to be your only way to get your home sold quicker. These are all very solid numbers as far as how long it's taking to get homes sold. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the short-term numbers, or the recent months for days to get sold. Days to get sold was actually up 12% in 12 days. It was 100 days to get sold in June, 112 days to get sold in July. And of course, we've seen some variation there, but it's been a relatively, aside from months where we get some unusually high pings, it's actually been just a general trend upward. And frankly, I don't see that changing. Where we are now, I think we're probably going to see homes continuing to take a while to get sold in Morgan Hill. It's going to be a tough fight for sellers. There's lots of properties out there trying to get sold. And since buyers have so much choice right now, and there are so few buyers out there, no one's feeling the pressure to move quickly. So really, you're going to have to just really be aware of who you're competing against. While it's also important to pay attention to the homes that have sold that are comparable to yours, you really need to be really aware of the homes that are direct competitors to yours in your local markets, so that you can be the most competitive home in that particular market and therefore have the highest chance of getting sold. Now, I appreciate you coming out and listening to what I have to say on these market conditions in Morgan Hill. If you'd like to read any of my other articles on real estate, review any of my weekly podcasts, or take a look at my other YouTube videos on other markets in the area, you can find all those on my website at www.soldbyrobert.com. If you'd like to email me directly with any ideas, suggestions, or observations, please feel free to do that at robert@soldbyrobert.com. Or if you'd like to give me a phone call, ask me any questions about real estate, maybe ask about properties in Silicon Valley, please feel free to call 408-852-0525, and I'll help you any way I can. If you prefer to talk using instant messengers like AOL Instant Messenger, Google Talk, or Yahoo IM, feel free to find me at the screen name The Rebel Broker. And if you're a Skype user, just put in Rebel Broker and you will track me down. Finally, referrals are always appreciated. If you or anyone you know is interested in real estate in the Silicon Valley area, please feel free to contact me using any of the methods I've noted here. Thanks, and I look forward to talking to you all next time.